Why are you lying there? Who's going to finish the cooking? That's what my husband said as I lay on the kitchen floor, skin scalded, forehead burning, vision spinning. He nudged me with his foot. Nobody moved. Hi. My name is Delaney Shore, and for 8 years, I cooked for this house like a maid. His parents, his sister, their kids, feeding them, folding their clothes, keeping the fridge full, and the family schedule tighter than my own heartbeat. I was the good wife, the one who smiled through everything, who never let the spoon fall. That night, I'd had a 102-degree fever, but dinner still had to be made. Their precious Sunday curry. I was stirring the pot when my vision tilted, the steam blurred, and my shoulders slammed the floor on the way down. They all heard it. They all saw me. But no one called an ambulance. No one offered a hand. They just waited for me to finish cooking. And I did, with blistered fingers and no appetite left for forgiveness. The next day, they acted like nothing happened. Like I'd tripped, like I'd recovered. Like my body and my silence still belonged to them. But I had already made a decision. One quiet, invisible step they didn't see coming. And 1 week later, that single step, it cracked through the center of their perfect little world. And none of them saw it until it was far too late. The day after I fainted, I made breakfast. Not for them, just for Emery, my daughter. She was 5, with eyes too wide for this world, and a voice that still whispered, "Mama, are you okay?" Like she'd seen the truth everyone else pretended to ignore. I packed her lunch, brushed her hair, walked her to the school bus like my skin wasn't raw beneath my sleeves. When I got home, my mother-in-law was already in the kitchen. "You left dishes in the sink," she said without turning. I didn't respond. I just looked at her, the woman who watched me collapse, and asked if the rice was still on low. She poured herself tea in the mug I bought, in the house I cleaned, on the life I'd built from the ashes of my 20s. That afternoon, I opened a bank account in my name only, used the birth certificate I'd hidden in a box beneath the linen closet, transferred every spare dollar I could find, freelance checks, birthday cash, even the refund from a canceled school trip. I started walking to the library every evening after dinner, claiming I needed fresh air. But really, I was building something. Quietly. Patiently. I printed job applications, rewrote my resume, made copies of every legal document in that house, from the lease to the insurance. Every night, I tucked Emery in. Every night, she asked, "Did Grandma say sorry?" And every night, I kissed her forehead and said, "Not yet, but soon, baby, very soon." 3 days later, I overheard them laughing. "Delaney's lucky," my sister-in-law said. "She doesn't even work and still lives like a queen." "Queen of what?" my husband joked. "The mop bucket?" Laughter. Clinking glasses. The sound of people too comfortable in someone else's silence. I stood behind the laundry room door, holding a basket full of folded shirts, realizing no one in that house had spoken my name with respect in years. But that night, I made them dinner anyway. Not out of duty. Out of timing. I needed things to look normal. Roast chicken. Potatoes. Wine. I even smiled when they said it was finally seasoned right. Later, I snuck into the study, careful not to wake anyone. I found the folder with the deed to the house, his name, not mine. But tucked inside was something better, a copy of the lease agreement for the guest house out back. My name was on it. He'd used it once, years ago, to claim we were paying rent while he applied for some benefit. He never removed it. It was small, but it was enough. That guest house had its own entrance, its own address, its own mailbox. The next morning, while they were still asleep, I mailed a notarized letter to our local housing office, requesting relocation under secondary lease due to emotional neglect and medical endangerment. Attached. Documentation. Sincerely, Delaney Shore. I didn't need their permission. Just my name. And now, I had it back. By Friday, I had a key to the guest house and a date circled on the calendar. June 1st. 2 weeks away. I told them I was spring cleaning and started moving little things, books, towels, Emery's old toys, over in tote bags after dinner. No one noticed. That was the thing about being invisible for so long. When you finally start slipping away, they don't even blink. At night, I'd tuck Emery in beside me and whisper stories about our secret cottage. She'd giggle, not understanding the weight of it, just liking the game. But the truth was, I was building her a home where no one would ever nudge me with their foot again. That Sunday, the family had guests. Church friends. The kind who drank lemon water and complimented the charming domestic setup. "Delaney's amazing," my husband bragged. "She runs this whole place like a machine." They laughed. I smiled. Then one of the wives turned to me and said sweetly, "What would they even do without you?" I didn't answer, because I already knew. They'd survive. But they'd feel it, every empty space I left behind. The next morning, I placed an envelope in the kitchen drawer, labeled simply, "For when you notice." Inside was a photo of me and Emery, standing in front of the guest house. We were smiling, and behind us, the door was already shut. They hadn't noticed yet, but they would, because June 1st was coming, and I wouldn't be cooking that night. June 1st arrived like any other morning, but I wasn't theirs anymore. I woke up early, dressed Emery in her sunflower jumper, and made pancakes, just for us. No yelling, no demands. No one criticizing the way I stirred the batter. By 9 a.m., we were moved in. Guest house clean. Curtains up. New toothbrushes in a mason jar. A home built out of quiet choices. From the main house, I could hear them shuffling around, asking where their coffee was, where their shirts were, why breakfast wasn't ready. At 10:13 a.m., the first knock came. My husband, Delaney. I opened the guest house door halfway. He blinked like he didn't recognize me. What is this?" I stepped aside, letting him see Emery coloring at the little table, humming to herself. "I live here now," I said. "We do." His jaw tightened. "You can't just move out. That's not how this works." I handed him the copy of the lease. My name, my legal right, my new mailing address. "It's exactly how it works," I said. "You're being dramatic." "No," I said calmly. "I was dramatic when I stayed after you let me burn. This is recovery." He stood there, dumbfounded, holding a piece of paper that shattered every assumption he'd made about my silence. "You'll come back," he muttered. "Eventually." But I was already closing the door, because inside that room was peace. And for the first time in 8 years, it belonged to me. They didn't speak to me for 3 days. No knocks. No texts. No fake smiles over dinner, because there was no dinner. I no longer cooked for them. No longer folded their socks or scrubbed their pans or fetched groceries with their cards. I stopped being convenient. And that, to them, was the real betrayal. Emery adjusted quickly. She loved the tiny kitchen, the way our fridge had only her favorite snacks, how her drawings stayed taped to the wall without someone rolling their eyes. One night, she asked, "Are we safe now?" I told her the truth. Yes. And no one gets to make us feel small ever again. On the 4th day, my mother-in-law showed up. No knock, just barged into the guest house like she still had the right. "This is disgraceful," she hissed. "You're tearing this family apart." I didn't flinch. I'd practiced for this. "You watched me burn," I said. "You all did." She opened her mouth, probably to say something about stress or misunderstandings. I cut her off. "You didn't lose a maid. You lost a witness." That stunned her. I handed her a printed photo. Emery, asleep with flushed cheeks, her arms wrapped around the stuffed bear my wife gave her before passing. Every decision I've made is so that face never has to beg for kindness. She looked at the photo, quiet for once. Then she turned, walked out, and didn't return. And I realized I hadn't just moved out of the house. I'd stepped out of the cycle. The silence that followed was different. Not cold, just quiet. No guilt trips. No knocks. No passive-aggressive sticky notes about laundry. The main house stopped pretending I was part of it. And I didn't miss it. I picked up a part-time job at the florist downtown, cashier in the mornings while Emery was at school. The owner, a gentle woman named June, let me bring home leftover blooms. Our guest house slowly filled with life. peonies on the counter, daisies in the bathroom. Every Friday, Emery would beam and say, "It smells like Mama again." One afternoon, I came home to a letter wedged in the guest house door. No envelope, just a folded sheet of paper with my husband's handwriting. "They're saying I let you go." Maybe I did. "I thought you'd always be there, Delaware. That you didn't need appreciation. I see now that silence was easier than effort. I'm sorry. Not for the past, I know I can't fix that. But for assuming you wouldn't leave. You were never the maid. You were the spine. I'm sorry I bent you until you broke." I didn't cry. I didn't write back. Because sorry doesn't rebuild a woman. But maybe it means he's starting to understand who I was and what I chose to become. Not a wife in service. Not a woman in waiting. But a mother in motion. And a life they never thought I had the courage to claim. Next, summer came. The guest house windows stayed open most afternoons, breeze carrying in a scent of garden soil, and Emery's chalk drawings drying on the porch. We made pancakes on Saturdays. We laughed louder. We rested softer. One morning, she pointed to a butterfly landing on our railing and said, "I think this is what it feels like to be new." She was right. That weekend, a formal letter arrived. From his lawyer. They wanted to discuss terms. Custody, housing, division of responsibilities. A softer way of saying, he finally realized I wasn't coming back. I smiled as I folded the paper. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. I didn't burn the house down. I didn't scream. I didn't expose anyone. I just stepped out one deliberate move at a time until they had no choice but to see the empty space I left behind. At Emery's next school event, we sat in the second row. Just the two of us. When the teacher asked who her family was, she stood proudly and said, "My mom's here. That's enough." The auditorium didn't go quiet, but I did, because I finally stopped needing to prove I was enough for anyone else. I walked Emery home under a sunset that felt earned. The guest house lights glowed in the distance, our small, sacred space no one could steal. And on the kitchen wall, where the clock used to hang, I placed a photo of us. Just us. Smiling. Whole.